Good evening and welcome to the FITT Show, financial information for today and tomorrow. I'm Bobby Kinzer,
And I'm Thomas Doty.
and we are the FITT Show, helping our people get their finances in shape. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy 2023. Can you believe that we in the year of 2023? I remember I was young watching the movie Space Odyssey 2000, and here we are, we there. Those Dick Tracy cartoons, and we now got watches on our wrists and telephones and stuff in our ears, man. So it's great to be with y'all. We back starting this great new year. How you doing, Dope?
Man, I'm happy to be alive.
Oh man, that's saying a lot because there's a lot of people that didn't make it into 2023.
That's for sure.
To be honest, and we definitely want to give out our condolences and prayers to people who did not make it into 2023. Just want to give a special shout out to my partner, called Chip Huntley. He did make it into the new year, but he checked out the other day, and may you rest in peace, my brother. So, Dope, let's get started like we always do, man. Look, anytime you can start a new year with your planning, your finances, and getting your finances in order is a great opportunity. So, let's get started with our number one topic at the top of the show, which is the stock market.
Yeah, and we can talk about that. The market has been just doing what it's been doing most of this year, and that's going down. And this last week, the thing that's been hitting it is the fact, which is kind of backwards, but the fact that the market is still showing strength. I had a big drop today because employers, it looks like employers are adding jobs. It's like wages are still going up. Jobless claims are below expectations. So all those indicators are that the economy is not slowing down, which leads to the fact that the Fed will probably keep increasing interest rates, which is to slow the economy down, which is a drag on the market, especially the growth stocks. And you can see for the last week, the market's down. It's down about 97 points. NASDAQ's down, 171 points, which is a little bit more. Again, it's a little more risky, so it's about 1.6%. Microsoft took a pretty big hit this week, and USB, one of the financial companies, actually downgraded their stock from buy to neutral. And the reason being, they think one of their products has matured, and you won't see the growth that it had seen in the past. And so there's the typical business worries with the market, the inflation, and all that kind of stuff. But also there's some worries about one of their products. So it's pretty much close to a 52-week low.
That's a big drop, though. 6%. That's a big drop.
That's huge, and that's mostly due to that ratings drop. Tesla also continues to look like it's in free fall, but it's crazy. A bunch of things are happening that's causing Tesla to go down. Most of it's related to Elon Musk doing his thing on Twitter. And if you look at the fact that their market share has dropped, well, not market share, their market value has dropped from 1.2 trillion to 340 billion.
Good gracious.
Yeah, and think about that 340 billion. That's as big as GM, Toyota, Ford, and the former Chrysler and its Fiat and all that group. All of those combined is that 340 billion. So the expectations on Tesla are extremely high, and they missed their delivery number in January. And I don't know if you noticed, but they were offering discounts on their cars for the first time, trying to hit their delivery targets. And so they're still like up 40%, which is pretty tremendous, but it's not what's expected. They're expected to have monumental growth, and that's why their valuation is so high, but it's taken a hit. And Pfizer is also pretty flat, but that's pretty much everything in the market is going the same way. And the big thing with Pfizer is everybody is wondering what's the next big thing they're going to come out with, because all of their COVID items are starting to, COVID is starting to die down, the vaccines and all the other drugs they make for the coronavirus. So that's where we are. We got to keep hoping at some point the Fed's effort to slow the market will actually slow it to their satisfaction, and then they'll stop cutting in interest rates, stop raising interest rates, and then we'll see some growth in the market.
But though I just want to say, my gold is up. It's up to $1,800 an ounce.
Let me ask you this: you say your gold. How much did you invest in it?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes, I did. I hold gold. Yes.
Okay.
And yes, it definitely did. I invested when it was like probably about $900 to $1,000 an ounce. And that was like, that has to be about maybe 5-6 years ago. It's not moving the way I thought it would be, especially usually it's an inflationary balance. When inflation goes up, gold is supposed to be, but it's been having an inverted effect. But lately it's been going up like $56, $29 an ounce. So just want to make that statement. Yeah, I've definitely got a few ounces in gold. So let's talk about the cryptocurrency market, which everybody is just talking about and shunning and down about, because the cryptocurrency market is down over about 70% from the year-over-year prices. The market, like 2 years ago, the cryptocurrency market was over $2 trillion. It's now down to $851 billion. It's up about $7 billion overall, the market. The Bitcoin a year ago, a little bit over a year ago, a year and a few months, say a year and 3 months, was at $65,000 of Bitcoin.
Ouch.
It's now down to $16,837. $16,837. However, it's up about $31. That's not much at all. But people are still holding because it's about the long play. And the whole thing about cryptocurrency is actually the utility, because other than that, cryptocurrency doesn't have any utility. It's not backed and collateralized by anything other than the stable coins, which is backed by a dollar. So all the other ones, but it's all about the utility, like the dollar. The reason the dollar is value because of utility, right? Because it can buy things. People use it to purchase things. So they're trying to get Bitcoin up like that. Ethereum, which is the second most popular cryptocurrency, which is, smart contracts, which gives it a little supposedly better structure. And but they up about $35 Ethereum coin. Tether, which is USDT, that's a stable coin. Like I said, you see the value hasn't gone anything where it's still a dollar, backed by a dollar, and it moves by a number of shares being sold. Dogecoin is still at number 8, hasn't moved at all, and Shiba hasn't moved at all either, though.
Okay.
It's still the scene for cryptocurrency right now. We still believe it's the long play. So, don't be jumping out, in and out. I mean, there's some people that know how to play the game, but you really need to pay attention. And if you don't really understand, the algorithms of doing that day trading with cryptocurrency, hold and see what's going to happen. So, Dope, how's this 2023 looking for you, man?
Well, I'm looking forward to it, Bob. I hope we continue doing our show. Me personally, I'm going to try to look in the future a little bit more, because as I look back over some of the things I've done good, some of the things I've done bad, I've never really tried to forecast what my financial situation would be 10, 15 years down the road. My goal was always to save as much money as I can and try to spend as little as I can. But and it works well. I did okay, but when I look back, I see I could have did a whole lot better had I actually really focused on 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. And so, yeah, I'm planning on living that long. So I should probably have some financial goals and take some steps to make sure I maximize my situation in those years. So that's what I'm going to do different this year is really try to focus on a longer term view and continue doing what I'm doing, day to day to month of staying on top of my finances. How about you? What are you going to do different 2023?
Well, though, I plan to, I want to cut back on my spending. Not like I'm a whole big spender, because I, for the most part, um, me and my wife, we live within our means, but you can always find more places to save money. Because we still got a daughter that's a sophomore in university, and she plans to go and become a doctor. So that's maybe another extra year in physiotherapy, that is. So that could be, so I want to cut back. But one of the main things I'm going to do differently, though, I'm trying to create more income streams. So, the best way to beat taxes, the old saying is make more money, which usually that seems like oxymoron for people. But no, you make more money, give Uncle Sam his 22 or 24%, and take your 70-something percent and run with it. So that's what I'm going to try to do. I'm trying to create more income streams so that I can build more wealth and build more income so I can invest more, and hopefully down the road it'll make, like what you said, it'll set me up even more better down the road when I'm hitting those 75s and 80-year-olds, 80s.
Yeah,
So
and Bobby, it's funny because as we try to teach people, or try to teach, try to inform, provide information, it's funny that nowhere in our financial growing up, the way we came through, did anybody say, okay, this is what happens 10, 15, 20 years down the road. You plan, but it's pretty much plan for retirement, save a whole lot of money for retirement, but you don't really look at all the things that go along with that. I think we've talked before about like Medicare payments, knowing that at 65 you go to Medicare, but that bill is based on how much you make. And so there may be a situation where you can do some things to defer some money, or like when to take your Social Security, really look at the big picture and make sure it optimizes your financial situation. And it's, fortunately, it's like we both did okay, but had we done some things, let's say better, or had been more better informed, or look to the future, we could have did even better than we did. And it's not being greedy, but it's just taking, you want to optimize what you have. And my goal is to leave a legacy for my kids. And the more I can make, the more I can leave them, because I pretty much got everything I want. I'm just trying to enjoy life every day. Happy to be here, as I always say. But there's nothing wrong with trying to optimize your situation. And to do that, you got to put the time in. You have to be on top of things. And the magic, as you said, Bobby, make more money and spend less money. That's the other way to do it. But that's what we want to do. Make sure people are informed and realize they should put some time into planning their finances.
So, Dope, I like to throw it back to our viewers out there today. Put in the comment box, you all. What do you plan to do different to improve your financial situation for 2023? Now, if you haven't thought about it, we're gonna give you some time to think about it. But put some of your comments in the box, you all, and share with other people. And who knows, you might enlighten somebody else with your suggestions. So put in the comment box, what are some of the things that you plan to do differently that will help your financial situation in 2023? So that's your assignment for today. We're going to be checking the comments box as we go throughout this presentation. Though it was it was something else you told me we would want to talk about, and I didn't skip my mind already. And I was hoping it would jar yours, but we wanted to remind everybody of what they needed to do, because we come on here every week, and I know we try to be not preachy because there's a lot of information, but we hope you share that information too. Just don't take that information for yourself, but please share it with your family members and friends and things like that.
Yeah, and by this, I think we were talking about the fact that we know you have to spend time doing it, and it's just a different way of thinking, because most of us didn't grow up spending time talking about money, and that's kind of what you have to do, and it's different than you were brought up. So you got to get that discipline to really focus. You always talk about how much time people spend planning vacations. Well, planning your money is much more important than planning a vacation. That's something that's going to affect you for your lifetime. And a little mistake when you're young can have a huge effect on how much you have when you're old. So we're just trying to provide information and hope people take this and better their position.
Well, Modestine already jumped out the box and said, we're going to stay. Well, first of all, hey, Modestine. She said she's going to stay the course in saving monthly. That's a good one. That's a good one. Saving can never hurt anybody, especially in this environment with inflation so high. Man, dude, I went to the store, man. The price is so high. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar couldn't shoot a skyhook over those mugs. It's high out there, man. So yeah, Modestine, save. That's a good thing. So, though, let's get into our topic for today, this is a big one, you all. I know we've mentioned this before, but we never went into detail. And this is talking about risk. Like, how much risk are you willing to take? How much risk can you actually stomach? So let's kick it off, though.
Yeah, and when people think about risk, it's probably a vague, ambiguous thought. They don't really put a lot of thought into it. And so if somebody asks you how much risk you're willing to take, your answer is probably not how you really feel. And if you're working with an advisor, they may not be giving it the attention that it deserves. And if you think about it, managing risk and managing market risk, that's one of the most important things you got to do. You got to be able to manage risk and understand how much risk you're willing to take. And most people won't admit it, but most people are probably exposed to more risk than they realize. And again, this is one of those situations where you have to understand what risk you're willing to take, and then you have to work to make sure your portfolio reflects that level of risk, and then you have to review it fairly often to make sure that level of risk is maintained. And so when we talk about risk, the definition of risk is it measures the uncertainty that an investor is willing to take to realize a gain on an investment. Okay, so you when you look at it that way, you're saying the market may go up because I want to make so much money, but how much risk am I willing to take in order for that to happen? So that's the crux of what we're going to talk about tonight.
And though risk taking is necessary to build wealth, for any investor, and we're not saying go out there and take, high aggressive risks. No, risk, and that's why we're going to have this subject tonight. It's from any level, even if you got money in a bank in a certificate of deposit, which is one of the lowest risks. It's still risk because that bank can default and lose your money. But if you FDIC insured, you'd be good. But if you're not, so risk is on every level, and understanding your risk is very crucial to developing a sound investment strategy. Now, we know that this story of risk takes many different spins, but it's crucial implementing an investment strategy, and knowing how much risk is involved at any given time. That's the key. It's not no right or wrong level of risk that you should take, but it's all about looking at and determining the right amount of risk that you need to take for your financial goals. And that's what me and Doug always say. We got to have a plan, and then develop your plan around your risk tolerance and the time horizon for when you're going to need it. Now, we know the universe of potential risk is pretty dark and could be really gloomy and frightening. It's almost like traveling out in space, like the Star Trek. Boldly go where no man has ever gone before. So to help you to understand and navigate these outer reaches of investment risk, we're going to talk about not only is it complicated, it is also misunderstood and rarely explained. And that's why we want to get into that conversation tonight.
Okay, and let's talk about the different types of risk, Bob. It's not a simple subject. And the first one we're going to talk about is market risk. And that's the inherent reality, is that investment markets, they go up and they go down. You have a zillion things that affect that. All of them are out of your control. And that's the basic type of risk you have when you make an investment, market risk.
Yes. And the next one is timing risk. And that is being, in and out of the market, obviously, at the right time. Or more important, the wrong time makes a huge impact on your portfolio too. And that's one thing that a lot of people, try to time the market, especially when you get ready to retire and you get ready to retire and all of a sudden the market crashes right at the time you get ready to retire. And you got to make that decision. Oh my God, what do I do? And some people, makes them affect the financial tools that they use. And you shouldn't. You should always peg it to whatever your goal is. And don't be trying to ride that roller coaster ride and, trying to catch it when it's up and jumping out when it's down. It usually doesn't work that way. Not even the top financial firms in the country are that good.
Yeah. And okay, the next time, and before I go to the next type of risk, the title of our show is No Risk It, No Biscuit. So remember that the higher risk you take, the higher your reward. The higher risk you take, it also could be the lower. It could be the opposite too. So you have to take risk in order to make money. Okay. And so the next risk is purchasing power risk. That's basically inflation. Okay. When there's inflation, which is almost all the time, things are going to cost more in the future than they do today. So go back to what I said a minute ago. If you aren't taking any risk and there's inflation, you're actually losing money.
Right. And that's really important. That purchasing power of your dollar, though, a lot of people don't realize that if you're not really keeping up inflation, that's what that purchasing power of your dollar, it affects it. You may think you have $100 under your pillow, but if it's not growing and a pack of gum last year cost $1 and this year it costs $1.25, and all you got is $1 that you don't put under your mattress, guess what? You're not going to be having no gum. Next one is liquidity risk, right? Now we know about this one, but this is very important now, because liquidity is the ability to get out of an investment when you want to, and hopefully without a penalty, Now, your home, because people ask me, what about your home when it falls on the liquidity? Well, the home has limited liquidity because it could take you quite a while to sell before you can liquidate your assets, as opposed to having stocks, say like you have stocks in, Microsoft, where you can instantly liquidate that stock, by going to the markets as soon as it opens. And then there's other type of investments that, limits your liquidity. So it's important that you really understand your liquidity. Let me give you another example. A lot of people in the cryptocurrency, a lot of people know how to get in the cryptocurrency, like getting on Robinhood, Cash App, But what people don't understand is liquidity with cryptocurrency. Because when you go to get out, you can't get out in all some of the same places. And sometimes, like Cash App, they'll limit how much money you can get out. So you got to go on several other different platforms to liquidate your cryptocurrency. So liquidity is very important. You need to be conscious of that, whatever vehicle you use as far as an investment.
And the next risk is longevity risk, and that one's becoming more and more important. And that relates to the fact that people are just living longer than they used to. And that has its own risk, obviously. And you have to actually consider, will you outlive your money? And it's hard to quantify, but obviously nobody knows when they're going to die. But you might have to ask yourself, do you have enough money if you live to be 100? And that's something you have to think about. And my mother used to always say, it's better to have and don't need than to need and don't have. So that's another one to consider.
Now, this next one can sound tricky, but it's very common. And it's called age spending risks. And that's how much you spend, whether it was planned for or just happens. It is an important consideration. It's just talking about how you spend, because normally you spend more in your earlier years of retirement than you will later on. And most folks won't want to indulge and enjoy the fruits of their labor, especially when they first retire. But if you're spending more early on, it's quite basic math. You have less to live off on if you spend it too early. So the major exception to this tendency centers around the inevitability increase in healthcare costs as you get older, because then that comes apart and becomes a big cost, and you must be cognizant of age spending risks.
Yeah, and we can talk about risk even more, but it really comes down to, don't lose my money. That's what most people, when they think of this,
Right.
that's what they think about. And so all we're saying is there are many things you need to consider. And you think about these risks, and that might help you get in your mind what risk you're willing to take and how much you're willing to lose. Because we always talk about, there's always a risk that you can lose. And one of the ways to help you get this more clear in your mind is to always think of how much you're willing to lose in terms of real dollars. Like most analysts or most financial advisors will ask you, well, what percentage are you willing to lose? And it's so easy to say a percent, okay, 10% or 20%, 15%. But if you try to put a dollar number with it, and let's say you got $1 million, and then when you say 10%, that's $100,000. And you got to really ask yourself, am I really comfortable losing $100,000? And that might reduce the amount of risk you're willing to take. But whenever you make that decision, you have to understand you're also reducing your ability to grow, because when you reduce your risk, you typically reduce the amount that particular investment can go up. Okay, so just keep that in mind, but it's always best to look at it in real dollars so you can understand just how much you're talking about when you say, how much am I willing to lose? For example, before this downturn, let's say you had $1 million, if somebody would say, okay, are you willing to lose 20% of what you have? Okay, that's $200,000. And maybe you'll say yes, maybe you'll say no, because you're looking at the upside, but at least consider that when you set up your risk tolerance.
Very good point, Dope. Just want to give disclosure that Dope and I, we get a lot of our information from Kiplinger, and that's a good resource, and we recommend that you go out there, because we've used a lot of their information, and it's really good information. So Kiplinger.com on every subject in finance is really good, and we use a lot of that information. So I want to give full disclosure to that. The next one, Dope, is breaking your portfolio into two parts. Now, it's also helpful to think of your investment portfolio as having two sides. especially when you're planning your retirement. Like one side of investments will be exposed to the market risks, and while the other side contains financial vehicles with no market exposure. That's what we mean by splitting it into two parts. And as you craft your portfolio and prepare for retirement, it's wise to find a combination of vehicles on both sides. Now, on the market investment side, that's stocks, mutual funds, variable annuities, bonds, commodities, like I talked about, gold and silver, which I hold silver also, currencies, and that's not just cryptocurrencies, that's, foreign currencies. A lot of people do forex, foreign exchange. And that other side with the market risk definitely involves your 401k, 403b, or 457. Now, these investments has potential to grow, but also come with risks associated with the market. Now, on the other side, which is no market exposure, is especially constructed. It's like life insurance policy, which have like tax exempt income in there, and those fixed and fixed index annuities, with lifetime income riders and even long-term care riders. They usually are fixed, and I'm not talking about the ones that are tied to the market, like the variable annuities are tied to the market, but the fixed annuities are not. And then, so consider that, um, to divide and split your portfolio into two: market risk and then those that have no market risk.
Yeah, and one thing to bear in mind, there's no correct answer. There's no one answer for everybody. Okay, everybody's situation is going to be different. Everybody has different amount of money saved. They got different risk factors, and so the best thing you can do is, as you build your portfolio, is look at your risk, and that should be based on your age, your health, how much money you have, how much money you make, what your particular risk tolerance is, and any other variables that are particular to you. Okay, you should also ask how much you should have in the market. And this should help you determine how much you should have in the market and how much you should have in a non-market or a more conservative place. Okay, no right or wrong answer. It's all depends on what you're comfortable with. And this is one of those situations we always encourage you to talk to other people, but there's certain things that other people do that you shouldn't try to copy. We talk about how Bob and I have different risk tolerances, okay? And so we can share information and we share thoughts and we share ideas, but I wouldn't be comfortable with Bob's risk tolerance and he wouldn't be comfortable with mine. So it's a personal situation, but you have to look at the factors that affect you, okay? And all of these questions you need to ask yourself as you plan for retirement or whatever else you're saving for. And so everybody has their own needs and goals and stuff like that. And if you think it just in general terms, younger people should obviously can take more risk because they have more time to recover from those mistakes, where older people, you don't have as much time to recover. So you probably should be a little bit more risky. And so everybody's got different needs to try to figure out and how much your portfolio you should put in the market and how much should be on a non-market. So if you need to get an experienced advisor, Bob always gives you the site to go to help you find an advisor, somebody who's certified, who has the requirements to make sure they know what they're doing, and they can help you figure out how much market risk that you're comfortable with. And once you get that, and you may have to adjust it, but once you get that, when a big market downturn hits, you aren't freaking out or going crazy or jumping off buildings, whatever you do when you get real upset, because you've accepted that much risk when you set your portfolio up.
Great information, Dope. Next, you need to revisit your risk assessment now and then. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that the markets and our needs are always changing. There's no bull market or bear market lasts forever. Now, that's a fact. Our risk tolerance can always is changing. And you need to make those adjustments. You need to modify your portfolio accordingly. And it's a good idea to always evaluate your risk tolerance and how much you want on each side of that portfolio, two sides that I talked about, the market risk side and the no market risk side. At least once a year. You need to do this at least once a year as the market and your own needs continue to change. Always, the market is always changing. So we must be flexible and resilient and, know when to change and when not to. Now, as we always talk about, it's good to have a trusted advisor that can help you and help you to find your comfort zone for when it comes to market risk and help you plan accordingly, because it's like Dote said earlier, it can be real tricky and real hard trying to find that right spot, that soft spot between how much risk you should be taking and how much risk you should not be taking. Now, too many advisors and individuals consistently ignore risk, but managing risk is so important and it's an ongoing decision. So find out how much risk you're comfortable with taking in your assets and just simply craft your portfolio accordingly.
Hey,
Now,
and Bob, let's make sure people understand we're not encouraging you to go out and hire a financial advisor, but we're encouraging you to have the information that you need in order to do what we just talked about, and that's assess your risk. And we're just saying that's an option if you don't have the expertise or if you'd like to get someone to help you do that. Because again, we aren't selling anything. We're just trying to provide information. And the point we're trying to make tonight is you need to understand your risk tolerance in order to be able to have a sound portfolio, something that you're comfortable with, something that's going to grow as you expect it to grow, but at the same time has the correct level of risk that you're comfortable with. If you have the wherewithal to figure that out yourself, hey, go for it. But if you don't, get help from somebody, whether it's a financial advisor, whether it's a friend who knows what he's doing. But you need to get this information some kind of way.
and we always suggest if you get a financial advisor, make sure they have some kind of certification like a CFP or CPA, even an MBA, because not every financial advisor is treated equally. Like I said just a minute ago, there's some financial advisors out there that be churning commissions and they just putting you in products where they can make money. And how you can find out about which financial advisor that you should get, you need to go on the FINRA.org, FINRA, the Financial Regulatory Agency site, and they are the ones that regulate mutual funds and they regulate stockbrokers and they regulate financial advisors. So if you ever needed a financial advisor, not sure who to go to, do that. I mean, it's just plain and simple reason why we say a financial advisor, because like Dote's a CPA and I know some about accounting, but I still have somebody do my taxes because I don't keep up on the tax code as they change. So I rather go to somebody that does it every day because I got a little bit complicated assets sometimes and I want to make sure I'm doing the right thing. So I go to somebody who does it every day and who's qualified. Now, undoubtedly, there's more to say about risk, but what people are really most concerned about is this. Don't lose my money, like those.
And Bob, and we talked about the new year, and usually everybody goes into the new year with, I'm going to lose X number of pounds. I'm going to stop procrastinating. I'm going to do this, do that. You make your resolutions, and hopefully you guys have made some financial resolutions and has decided to give this the attention that you should. And if you have any topics that you'd like us to discuss based on your resolutions to provide some information, please don't hesitate to throw those in the comment box.
Okay, yeah. So Yeah. So think about those things because we need to consider some of these things. Because many issues need to be considered. And I hope that this list, that we came up with helps you clarify some of your investing mission and navigate your journey to live long and prosper. I have comments here. They say, why aren't we receiving notifications anymore? I don't know. Because once again, we are held captive by Facebook and their algorithms and what they do, and also YouTube. So there's a couple of people asked that question. Hey, I'm not getting. Garnett said that too. Modestine and Joanne said we're not getting a notification. So I don't know what's going on there because they change up on you every now and then and don't tell you. But I'm gonna look into that and make sure that y'all get notifications. But remember, we're here every Thursday at 8 p.m. We like taxes. We're gonna always be here. So though, let's go to the video. Let's go to our summary and takeaways for the show because that was a lot of information as always.
Okay. And the first one, risk is a lot to think about, but if you want to build wealth, you have to take some risks, and you just got to find the right amount that you're comfortable with. But if you don't take any risks in times like these, during inflationary times, you're going backwards instead of going forward. And as bad as the market was last year, if you look at it over the last 4 or 5 years, it's pretty much averaged just what it's done since the beginning, since like 1930, because it was up real big in 21 and 20 and even 19, I believe. And so if you look at the average, it's still, you probably still have more money than you had 2018 if you just had an investment, didn't add anything to it, even with this big market drop. So you got to take some risks if you want to build wealth.
And if you've been in the market the last 10 years, you definitely made out. Just last year, I think stocks maybe lost about anywhere approximately 30%. But you've been making about, that much over if you've been in the market, especially with your 401k plan. So don't be mad. And remember, you all, unless you cash out, unless you take that money out, that is not a realized loss. Okay, that's just considered an unrealized loss or opportunity cost. So leave it in there for the long play and wait for the market to come back and it'll build up even more. Next, okay, one thing taking risks, but the next thing is to understand the risk inherent in your investments. Now, we're not talking about you. This is talking about the risk that is inherent in any and every investment. And it usually go from 1 to 5 is the scale you can use, with 1 being very low, 2 being low, 3 being medium, 4 being high, and 5 being very high. That's usually one scale. Most people who think they're not risk takers, but they have a home, you'll fall right in to the medium at 3. And that's why we were talking earlier, like some people don't even know. Some people are taking too much risk, and some people are not taking enough risk at all. So understand the risk inherent in your investments.
Yeah, and understand your own risk tolerance. And that's pretty much determining how much you're comfortable losing. So make sure you are okay with the way your portfolio is set up. So if the market does take a big drop, you don't overreact and then make bad decisions. So know how much risk allows you to sleep well at night and not worry. Because we don't want you not sleeping because you're worried that you're taking too much risk. So make sure you look at your own individual risk tolerance.
And then the next 4th tier of risk is understanding the risk versus reward. The higher the risk, the higher the reward. But the higher the reward, the more chances you got of possibly losing your money. The lower the risk, the lower the return. So it's as simple as that. If you're not a big risk taker, there's things out there for you. It's just that your reward may not be as high as those who take a little bit more risk. And remember, we're not encouraging you to go out there and just take up a bunch of risks. We're not encouraging you to be high risk takers. We just encourage you to look at the investment tools that are out there and look at the risk inherent in those and see if they match your risk tolerance, and then look at planning your financial goals accordingly. Because that's how, when we talk about financial planning, it's not all about just the numbers. It's also about, your mindset. It's also about your risk tolerance. It's also about the risk inherent. So risk reward is so important, you all, because a lot of people jumped on cryptocurrency because what? The risk was very high and the return was phenomenal. But look what happened when it crashed. A lot of people lost a lot of money. So be
Yeah.
conscious of that risk versus the reward.
You have to find your own sweet spot. Again, where you're comfortable with the amount of risk you're taking and with the amount of reward that level of risk will typically provide. And that's a individual situation. Somebody can help you understand your own, but you can't do yours based on somebody else's because you don't know their whole situation.
Yeah. And before we leave, I threw the task out there to the viewers, all our friends out there, and some of y'all came in late. Modestine did it. So I want some of y'all to take a quick second and put in the comment box, what are some of the things that you're going to do different this year? Or what are some of the things you would like to do this year for your financial future? It could be, your wish list, or it could be some goals that you put in there. What is your financial goals? We like to make this interactive, and we're pretty curious because we shared some of our things, and we're just curious to see. Some of y'all have been on here for a year, and just curious to see. And some of y'all, I mean, all of y'all that I've noticed have been very astute with the comments y'all got. So put in the comment box before we get out of here. What are some of the things? Okay, Joanne stepped up. All right, Joanne says save more. That seems to be the theme, though. More people want to be saving more. And that's important, especially in this environment, you all. And right now, though, with the interest rates, which are favoring savings accounts, which is so interesting, especially online banks that doesn't have any mortar, like doesn't have any buildings, they giving you almost 4-5%. And that, you want to talk about risk, that is low risk money in a savings account in an FDIC insured bank.
And Bob, we always talk about the smart people are buying when people are selling and selling when people are buying.
Right.
And in my view, again, based on my own personal situation, now is the time to invest. I mean, you got some really good stocks at all-time lows. So it's something else people should consider. So
yeah, Garnett said, increase my overall savings. Okay. Rodney Madison, the noteexperience.com. Rodney said, investigate if good, Rodney. Investigate if a Roth conversion is in my favor. Bam. That's a good one, Rodney, because we talked about that for planning for 2023. We talked about, and it was like, Dota said this before to me about you might not want to do a whole conversion, or you might do increments over each year, smaller increments, so it doesn't hit you as hard when you convert it to taxes, when you convert it to Roths and have to pay those taxes up front. But on the back end, you won't have to pay any more on the gains. So that's a good one, Rodney. That's a real good one. Everybody need to at least, like you said, investigate that. And Rodney, we're gonna have you on one day because Dope Rodney is using a simplified. Rodney put in there, yeah, what is it? A simplified IRA, and he's using it as a business, and it is such an awesome thing that he's doing, using a simplified. And I hope I'm saying it right, Rodney. Put it in the comment box, the actual title. But good. We got another savings. So a lot of people don't interested in savings in the year. You can't go wrong with savings, you all. Can't go wrong. Oh, thank you, Rodney. I'm thinking about the daggone employee self-employment event. It's called the self-directed IRA. That's what it is. Thanks, Rodney. Good move. Good looking out. So that's the end of our show for today. We done kicked off for 2023. Look, this is what we're wishing to you all for 2023. That this year be full of blessings, joy, peace, and prosperity. Okay, call. I agree, save more, investigate how I can reduce my taxes. Oh, good one. Thank you all for joining in. Like always, love to hear from y'all. So tune in next week. We'll be here 8 p.m. Thursdays. The FITT Show. Financial information for today and tomorrow. Have a good day.